Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're doing all good. Season 4 is finally here, and with it comes 2 amazing new weapons. The first one that I'm focusing on today is the Vector, aka the FENNEC. So what I've done is I've jumped in, I've tested all of its base stats so that us bros know exactly what we're dealing with, how it compares to the MP5 and MP7. So I'm going to get into those stats in a second. But before I do, make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe to stay up to date with all of my amazing Season 4 Warzone content. I'm going in hard Season 4. Daily uploads, if not double daily uploads, if not even more. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. So, as I said, Vector, aka the FENNEC, I've tested it, got its base stats, and what I wanted to see what it's like at all damage ranges. I've tested its time to kill. I've also tested one of the unique suppressor attachments that should be amazing in Warzone. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to share those stats as well. And as the video title implies, I've also got my first impressions of a sick setup for the Vector based on all of this information. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so here we go, boys. Details. So you can see in this nifty chart / graph that I've made, we're testing against the base MP5, base MP7, and of course we've got the base Vector stats. So all these different damage ranges at 250 HP because I'm focusing on Warzone. So you can see on paper, due to my color coding, that the base FENNEC on paper isn't as good as the MP5 and MP7. Now, I've got an asterisk by 25 meters for the FENNEC, which is coming out at shots to kill at 19. It's super weird. Basically, I think this is a bug because at 25 meters specifically, I tried at 26 and 24 and it changed stats. But at 25 meters specifically, it actually takes more shots to kill than it does at further damage ranges. Now, I think this is a bug and I expect them to fix it, but it's just something to bear in mind. And obviously, I have to conclude this or include it even in my testing. But all of this means nothing until you can work out time to kill, because that includes obviously your kind of rounds per minute, rounds per second, etc. And then we can see what gun actually comes out on top. So let's take a look. So TTK, now what's interesting is now the FENNEC comes out on top. So TTK is a combination of, you know, the rounds per second versus how many shots to kill it takes at all these different damage ranges. So obviously 25 meters is a bit of a caveat at the moment, so hopefully I'll fix it. And of course I'll be updating this gun and all of my gun builds for Season 4 the second that any patches come out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a pretty sick insight, boys, is it not? Now we know that the FENNEC is actually like super powerful and it's a much stronger gun, well, kind of a much stronger gun than the MP5 and MP7. But obviously you can't just take damage into consideration, so let me talk about this gun's characteristics. Essentially, this gun is a machine pistol. It's got the same ADS time as the X16 and the M19 handgun. So it plays very much like a handgun, which is sick because it has super quick ADS time. So if you're interested what that is, that's 0.099 milliseconds ADS time. Movement speed comes out at 98%, which is the same as the MP5 and just 1% slower than the MP7, which has a movement speed of 99%. So taking all this information into hand, how does it actually play? So we know it does really, really good damage, but there has to be a downside to this, and the downside is the recoil. It is really hard to control, and that comes through its rapid fire rate, and the 25 round mag is not really enough. I'm going to get into the build and my suggestions in a second, but yeah, it's kind of like you want to focus on recoil. This is really an aggressive gun. This is up close, personal, slaying machine. As you can see through some of the clips that I've got here, you can use it at range, but like the fully automatic fire is a little bit hard to control. So the thing is, because of the ammo count, which is 25 per mag, you have to really be accurate. So at range, it's obviously a bit of a risk, but it's still usable. But as I just said, the main thing really for me is the mag size and the reload time. Let's take a look at idle weapon sway. So for the FENNEC, nothing really to say. It's kind of very similar to the MP5 and MP7, but feel free to rewind this section and take a look over and over again for yourself. So the recoil pattern for the FENNEC looks like this. So it kind of goes up and then sharply to the left, so it's not very stable. But let's take a look and compare this to the MP7 and the MP5. So on the left here we have the FENNEC recoil, in the middle we have the MP5, and on the right hand side we have the MP7. Now when taking a look at recoil patterns, you have to consider the mag size of the gun. So the FENNEC doesn't look too bad. It's kind of like a halfway house between the MP5 and the MP7 at base. So let's get into a build, and disclaimer, obviously this is very early stages, it's day 1, even the first few hours of season 4 dropping, so these are just my initial impressions based on the stats that I've given you, but I will be going in depth on this gun and the Galil, giving you all the best stats on all the attachments, setups, etc. So make sure you subscribe to stay up to date for those. Anywho, first attachment, 5mm laser. This gun is sick up close, so you want to make hip fire accuracy insane and sprint to fire speed. As I said before, it's a very aggressive gun. You don't even really need to ADS, just hip fire it. It's sick. I didn't find the iron sights to be too great. If you can live with them, then you can use another attachment, but I would go for the GI Mini Reflex, especially as it doesn't give us an ADS penalty. Next up is the Merc foregrip, again to really push that hipfire accuracy and also give us a decent bit of recoil control. Next up, dudes, is the rubberized grip tape, just to give us even more recoil control because this thing really does kick. Last but not least is sleight of hand, because I haven't actually timed the reload time, but it felt like forever. So it really helps to speed this up, especially as you only have 25 rounds in the mag and you get through them super quick. So I strongly suggest using sleight of hand. Now, towards the beginning of the video, if you remember, I said I will give you guys a unique piece of information for this unique weapon attachment for the FENNEC, and that is the ZLR Saber. So it's basically a better mono suppressor on paper for damage range. So I wanted to give you guys some stats to see what exactly this attachment does. Here's the table that I showed you guys earlier. So all I've done is I've added the stats for when we add the ZLR Saber attachment to the base gun. And as you can see, at 12.5 meters, 17.5 meters, and 25 meters, we get quite a decent buff to damage. So I thought this was quite a cool piece of information to give you guys. Obviously, it's not super in depth, but I will be going, as I said earlier, more in depth over the next coming days. That's a wrap for this video, my dudes. Make sure you give it a like to show your support. And as I said earlier, sub to make sure you stay up to date with all of my amazing Warzone Season 4 content that I have planned. Honestly, you'll be an idiot not to. I have such big things planned, so make sure you do that. All of my socials and my Activision ID are down in the description, so make sure you take advantage of that. Most of the stuff that I put out on Twitter first. So yeah, make sure you do that, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!